He had this case come in fighting over royalties from the 50 Shades of Grey books. And
quite significant royalties right there.
And in a very conservative jurisdiction. It was in Fort Worth, Texas, which we can talk about that later. But
so no one admits to reading it, but everybody did on the jury pool, right?
We had an interesting voir dire and jury selection process that day, and lots of interesting Q&As, and even questions from the jurors about the substance as well.
When you're driven, the need to accomplish a goal is relentless. Hard work and ambition compel you to do whatever's necessary. In my work as a personal injury trial lawyer for 18 years, it's common to meet driven people. Those with drive can have different personalities, careers, or backgrounds, but they possess one common factor. Despite their passions, driven people want to surround and motivate themselves with other driven people. If you want to learn how to overcome obstacles by learning from others, then tune in here. This is the Driven Crowd Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into episode 81 of the Driven Crowd Podcast, fueled by Snellings Law. I'm your host, Scott Snellings. I'm joined today by Texas business litigation attorney, Brent Turman. Leveraging a background in film and television production, Brent knows how to communicate compelling arguments that tell client stories to the jury with clarity and persuasion. He is no stranger to resolving contentious disputes and helping his clients protect their assets. Brent, welcome to the Driven Crowd Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. The short intros crack me up because I do the exact same thing. I don't want to sit here and listen to somebody read my intro for like 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I always appreciate brevity in intros. So thank you for that.
I'm glad to.
All right. So let's start off with your background. We talked about this a little bit before the show, but where did you grow up and how did you get to become a lawyer as you sit here today?
Oh man, I got a long path here. So I grew up in Commerce, Texas, which is about an hour northeast of here. It's a little longer with the traffic these days as everything expands.
You grew up in the country.
I did in the country. We had about 8,000 people who lived there. And the biggest thing in Commerce is what it was East Texas State, then it was A&M Commerce. Now it's East Texas A&M. And so it's probably pretty easy to get in trouble in a small town like that. The most exciting thing for us to do was to drive to Mesquite and go to Town East Mall or come to Dallas.
Oh, yeah. Go to the rodeo.
Yeah. Oh, there's lots of rodeos out there. But with that, I was fortunate enough to get a great scholarship, go to SMU. And you may or may not know this, but they used to be really bad at football.
I was a kid when they got the death penalty.
Right. So after that, of course, yeah, those are the glory days back then, which maybe they'll be coming again. But there was one year that when I was in school, I think we lost every single game.
And I think there were multiple years where y'all lost every single game. It was bad.
And so with that, you'll imagine how much fun it was for me to have my first straight out undergrad job working for ESPN, ABC, college football, traveling all over. I saw Tim Tebow several times, saw Michigan versus Ohio State. I saw Colin Kaepernick in what was the highest scoring college football game at the time have a quadruple overtime victory at Boise State.
Oh, wow.
And just had a blast. And let me just fast forward a little bit. Had a blast traveling around with my crew every week. Our band of nomads, we'd fly from all over the country, meet up at wherever Bristol, Connecticut tells us to go that week. And realized quickly I couldn't identify many people on my crew that I thought had a stable home life. Some of them may have. I don't know. I'm from the outside, but I'm thankful I had kind of the foresight that, there's a couple roads to success here. One is if you're successful, you are on the road nonstop. You don't know what state you're going to be in the next week. And another way, if you're successful, you get the privilege of traveling and moving your family to Bristol, Connecticut, which I'm sure is a great place. Just not a place I was really interested in planting roots. And so with that, studied for the LSAT while I was traveling. I tell everybody I had my sugar mama back home in Dallas. I was out in LA at the time, but I applied to one law school, SMU Dedman School of Law, had a fantastic scholarship there. And that's what led me to being a lawyer. I just really enjoyed a business law undergrad class I had. Really is what sparked me to take the LSAT and take that next step.
Very cool. All right. So let me back up a little bit. Did you know that you wanted to get into sports and, the ESPN kind of lifestyle back when you were a kid? Or is that something that you just kind of fell into after you graduated?
I mean, I saw Jerry Maguire when I was my dad probably shouldn't have shown it to me at that age, but I was like, that looks pretty fun, right? And there's a show called Arliss on HBO, Sports Agents.
Yep.
And it sounds amazing until you realize what the actual business model is. and how much money has to go behind it, either your money or someone else's.
Right.
But with it, I always enjoyed media as well. I was one of those nerds who had my parents' camcorder and made a feature-length movie in high school, and it's probably painful to watch right now. It was a lot of fun. So I went to SMU to do film school, and I actually played hooky to freelance with ESPN during my senior year. And I remember sitting at graduation thinking, what the heck am I doing after I moved to LA next week? And then I got an audition with ESPN. My audition was actually working the home run derby in San Francisco.
Oh, that's cool.
I was probably 15 feet away from Guerrero and all of them, just bombs, right? And I'm with that Exmo camera, the super slow-mo.
Yep.
One. So anyway, that's what led me there. And then I have my obviously background in film and entertainment, and I use that to help my clients there in that space. But again, I love business litigation. You and I have nerded out talking about objections off camera here, right? Like that's what we do. And so with that, I love using my skill set in the courtroom, whether it be for sexy entertainment stuff or a real estate dispute, a business dispute, breach of contract, bad employee doing things. So I'm not sure I answered your question, but that's kind of what led me to
fantastic.
being a lawyer, what I liked.
Yeah. All right. So you mentioned using those skills in the courtroom. Well, a lot of what we do is we tell stories.
Right.
Right. If we just go and we just talk about disputes, like that, I would be bored to death as a juror.
You don't want to read contract provisions all day to the jury?
No, I don't. I'm one of those lawyers who rarely reads the contracts I sign because that's how boring it is. And that's how much I dislike it. I just I read the important ones.
There you go.
I never read the terms and conditions on the website stuff that you agree to the terms and conditions. So talk to me about storytelling. You grew up, you made a feature-length film when you were a kid. Clearly you're into creating movies, that asset. Where do you go to learn how to tell a story?
Man, so I'm so thankful that I had an amazing mentor when I was in my early years as a lawyer named Mike Ferris. I talk about him a lot. I think it was about a month after I joined the firm he was with and I was with at the time. He had this case come in fighting over royalties from the 50 Shades of Grey books. And
quite significant royalties right there.
And in a very conservative jurisdiction. It was in Fort Worth, Texas, which we can talk about that later. But
so no one admits to reading it, but everybody did on the jury pool, right?
We had an interesting voir dire and jury selection process that day, and lots of interesting Q&As and even questions from the jurors about the substance as well. But with it, what I love is he was an attorney. He's retired now, but he's also was and is an author. And he focused on storytelling a lot. And one thing, just looking at, the way you write a pleading and something you file at the court. Some people think they need to use fancy words and Latin phrases and italics and all these things. And he said, Brent, you take the first stab, but here's what I want you to do. Convey the message in a clean and straightforward manner. You're not going to overcomplicate it, because my goal is to have a journalist with no legal experience read this once, fully understand it, and be able to write about it and put it on the front page of the paper. And so that's one thing. And then also just bringing the storytelling techniques I learned in film school to the courtroom. I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you for any names, but you can probably think of some very boring trial attorneys that you've seen on the other side. You can probably think about people who on their PowerPoint slide decks, they have about 87 words on the slide and they read every one to everyone who can read it for themselves. Oh. And so we can talk about some specific strategies I've used, but I just love approaching things in a different, outside the box way when possible.
Absolutely. So when we talk about storytelling, you have this mentor. I think where a lot of people screw it up is they put too much detail in the wrong places, right? You either make it too complicated to where it's really hard to follow, or you skip over the things that people want to know more about.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so when you look at something, when you're putting a case together, right? Let's just say it's a business dispute over, I don't know, you tell me, what's something that you handle commonly?
Let's just say a multifamily real estate project. Something goes south. Lots of things could go south, but let's just say something goes south there with a business relationship.
Sure. So business relationship goes south. You have two partners who start fighting, and they're the owners of the multifamily. Is that somewhat common? In multifamily and other concepts, I have several cases I'm working on right now came to mind, but obviously not going to talk about those on the air here. Sure. So say you have that fact scenario. Okay, that could be really, really boring, right? First off, you say real estate. There's a real estate case to a voir dire panel, and everybody's gonna be like, "Oh,
power
I was
down,
hoping
right?
this would be like a murder case or some horrible personal injury case, something like that." So immediately, I start to glaze over if you put it that way. But if it's a case about this feud, all of a sudden people are, "Oh, tell me more. How big is this feud? What happened? Who did what? What's the tea?" As the young ones say.
Yes.
And so tell me, when a case comes in and you start putting it together, what are the things you're looking for to put together a compelling story?
I mean, one thing is, common archetypes that you'll see in every story. It's good to have that. It's good to think about what the theme is, preferably a week before trial, right?
Because it's usually helpful.
It's going to inform a lot of the way that you try the case in discovery, prosecute the case, or defend the case. And with it, you talked about some of the boring details and how some people are too detailed. The problem we have is we know all the facts, right? We've been swimming in this case. If it's at trial, most likely for over a year to more. And so we know all these facts. I found it is so helpful to bring in outsiders with zero knowledge. And it doesn't need to be a formal, fancy mock trial. For the 50 Shades case, I was on a budget. It was a contingency case. And basically the firm said, you can have $100, go get margaritas and Mexican food, show them some deposition clips, give them your arguments, and get their honest feedback. And you'll see there, sometimes our job requires us to drink the Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah.
We got to know when we're drinking the Kool-Aid too much and the facts may not support it. We got to know what pops out to people. And you talked about what's interesting is when people don't have the information. When the jury doesn't have the information, they're going to connect the dots. And so it's better for you to help them connect the dots for them to just do it on their own in a vacuum. Because there's a good chance that's not going to help your client.
Yeah. Yeah. If you leave the jury to their own devices, they absolutely will connect the dots with things that they either make up or assume. And one of the really hard parts about being a trial lawyer is some things we can't tell them.
Oh, yeah.
Incredibly important things.
Because the judge said we can't.
Exactly. And the rules of evidence say we can.
Yeah, that too.
And so, especially in personal injury law, there's things that we absolutely can't talk about. If we mention them, it's an immediate mistrial. And there are things that come up in every single, when the jurors go back there to deliberate. Every single deliberation, they're asking these questions. We know they are. Half the time, they send a question to the judge. Hey, XYZ. And the judge says, you can't consider that. And so finding that out, I love we do focus groups, right? Especially on our big cases, we pay for the fancy focus groups.
But it's so helpful.
It is. What we've started doing is, one of our core principles, core values at our firm is love for the community, right? And so that starts in our office and then goes out to the actual community as a whole. We want to be an asset to the community. And so one of the things that we were looking at doing is, hey, how can we do a community event? And I had a friend in New York, Stephen Goldstein, who one day he was out there, he was buying pizza and he was talking to his buddy about a case. And he noticed that a couple other people were listening in. And he said, hey, if you're interested, come over here and talk to us. I want to get your opinion on something. And before you know, the whole pizza shop was right there. It was a small pizza shop. He had 15, 20 people. And he got some great feedback. And he was telling me the story and I was like, that's it. That's our community event. Because people gripe about having to be at jury duty, right? But everybody wants to be a juror. They don't want to have to deal with being in a courtroom for 8 hours a day for a week or however long.
They don't want that part. Someone else tells them they have to show up, right? It's not on their terms either.
Exactly. They're not eating pizza and drinking beer or soft drinks or whatever, right? And so
what I'm hearing is you're proposing that we have pizza and beer at trials and in courthouses. Is that what I'm hearing?
Hey, it would engage the jurors.
It would
engage the jurors. So what we did is we got with a pizza place in Frisco, and we said, hey, how about we buy pizza? What day are you closed? They said Tuesdays. And so they're like, yeah, we'll open up the shop for you. And so we have, I think last time we just did one. We had between 15 and 20 people come. We fed them pizza, salad, all the things, soft drinks. And we had our lawyers. This is another opportunity for lawyers to get on your feet. Because as we spoke about, trials, are less and less and less often. But opportunity for the lawyers to get on the feet. And we presented different cases. And these are smaller cases, right, that can't afford full focus groups. And what we try to find is common issues that we face. Like, hey, smaller property damage or medical bills being too high or pre-existing issues, things like that. And so we have specific cases. We show them. It's anonymized. But we'll show them videos, or we'll show them medical records, or we'll show them bills, or we'll show them these different things. And we do it in different ways. Sometimes we'll do a neutral narrative. Sometimes we'll do kind of an opening from both sides or a closing from both sides. And then we ask them very specific questions. It is amazing. One of my favorite things is to go horribly lose one of those, because it shows us, okay, we have this frame completely wrong. I'm so glad we did this.
Yes.
And then we go back and we reframe it, we work it again, and then we bring it back and it works. Like, okay, we were telling the wrong story.
Fail fast, right? Figure it out so you can fix it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's really cool because they feel like they provide value. It's not this like 6-hour focus group that people get paid to do and it's miserable. They sit there for 6 hours and they're just getting grilled and it's boring and whatnot. This is a 2-hour event. Right?
So I'm not saying this just because we're on camera. I'll stand by it afterwards. I really would like to get an invite because I just want to see that process and how it goes down. Because
absolutely, you will be at the next one. In fact, it's already scheduled. It's in October at some point. I can't remember.
You can give me the details and we'll figure it out
for sure. But yeah, I think getting that feedback, because you're right, we just assume that they know certain things that they have no clue about.
Yes,
and so that comes up in focus groups. Like, well, hey, what does this mean? What do you mean a herniation? Like, what's the difference between a bulge and a protrusion? Like, oh yeah, crap. We need to tell them that before we get into this. But I knocked the mic out of my.
There we go. Right you're getting into it, man.
I am. I talk with my hands, right? Like like any good trial, you talk with your hands.
You have to.
But yeah, I think getting that feedback is massive. So you mentioned at the beginning, I'll bring us back to my question, the story archetypes.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, let's just keep it to the absolute base level. Good guy, bad guy. Right. And this is not answering your question, but I have to say it because it's on my mind because we were just on focus groups. The 50 Shades case. Defendant we're going against, she's a bad lady. Right. And I've seen the games that were played in Discovery. I know all these things. She's a bad lady in my mind. Bad guy. When we had our jury session, we went through things and we're going for punitive damages, which means we want a multiplier. On top of the actual damages, we want more to punish them, to deter them from doing bad things in the future.
Which is really hard to get, by the way, for those of you who aren't familiar with punitive damages. You got to have everybody agree on a really, really high standard.
And I thought we should have had more than that, right? I think she's like one of the worst. Anyway, but with that, after the focus group, they're like, look, I get that you believe that. It's very clear you believe that by the way you talk about her. I don't see the evidence. We need to back up. And something else too is not just archetypes, but frameworks. One that we use in that case, and I had the privilege of using up in Eastern District in Sherman, maybe 4 months ago now for a case, is the 3-act structure. And I love it. This kind of empowers the juror to where we talk about the 3-act structure that they use in writing, in films, the setup, the complication, the payoff. And it's so much fun. I'm really oversimplifying it. But at the end, I say, and here's the cool part. You get to decide how this movie ends. And with it, we go through and we have the 3 acts on PowerPoints and we show the plot points. And I say, now here's where they said this. And if we're in the movie, you'd hear some ominous music in the background. Like this is the first time that the jury thinks, oh, this person maybe has bad intent. This person is out for themselves.
This is the foreshadowing.
Exactly. So I think that's something that's really fun. And again, it's not crazy, but it's not the way that some lawyers lay out. Cause of action number A has elements 1, 2, 3, and 4. And, it's just like, so there's a time and a place for that, but it's just fun to keep them interested.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end of the day, we do have to explain the jury charge to them, right? That'll go sideways
for closing.
Real quick.
Yeah, it's pretty important. So they know exactly what answers you want them to put on there. Yeah,
exactly.
Every trial.
So one of the things that we're talking, through storytelling and trying cases and stuff through Texas Trial Lawyers Association and things like that. One of the things I think as lawyers we have a really, really hard time with is not force feeding. Because if you can lay your story, your evidence, your trial out A to Z, without having to tell the jury 13 times, this is a bad person right here, you let them draw their conclusions, it goes so much better. Because they're like, hey, I'm not dumb. I get this. But as lawyers, it's like we have to give up that control. Like we have to trust the jurors, right?
And it is tough too, because I mean, and I'm not saying anything negative, the average juror is a lot less educated than the lawyer trying that case. And so part of it is not dumbing it down, simplifying some things to a level. But then, like you're saying, that is the hardest part. A lot of lawyers are type A. Giving up control is difficult. We want the control, right?
Yeah.
Desperately. But that is important, is not having black boxes and gaps where they fill it all on their own, but giving them the ammo, giving them the ammunition to make sure they connect the dots in the way you'd like for them to.
And I think a big part of that is humility.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We get in there and we think like, okay, I have to make sure that they have all of this information and that they put it together the way that I want them to, and this, that, and the other. I can't tell you how many jury deliberations I've listened to in focus groups, or in different things that we've gone to where the jury's heard the case and then we get to listen to them deliberate. They get to the right answer, rarely in the way that we tell them to get to the right answer, but they get to the right answer. I think there's this huge misconception out there, a lot of it media driven, that jurors, especially jurors on the big national cases where they're televised and you have all these legal analysts breaking everything down, that jurors are dumb. And they're simply not. They are not. Mm-hmm. They get the right result 99% of the time, in my experience. You have your outliers where you're like, whoa, how on earth did that happen? That must have been a lawyer who, really screwed something up, or a lawyer who was just absolutely amazing at doing whatever he did. But at the end of the day, those things typically don't hold up. Right? We have appellate courts for a reason. But the average jurors, they get it. Mm-hmm. They get it. And I think once you've seen enough of that, then it's easier to let go and be like, okay, all right, let's let them come to their own conclusions. Let's lay out everything. Let's argue our way, our version. And at the end of the day, they're going to do what they're going to do.
Right. And they all have very different approaches and different ways of getting to that finish line and whatever their result is. And just like you're saying, they may not get there the way you want to. I have, since I guess COVID, I started this approach of making sure that I'm not just feeding or giving information in the way that I would want to receive it. Some people are visual learners. Some people want to hear things, maybe hear more than once, but let's not get crazy. And so it's just important to make sure you provide those tools, even if you wouldn't use those tools if you were a juror.
Yeah, one of the things that we've latched onto more and more and more over the years are the demonstratives.
Yes.
And for those of you listening, that's like, the drawings, or like the medical drawings, or animations, or photos, things like that. Because I think the more you can provide different types of evidence, right? You have your testimony, right, which every trial has. But the more you can keep the jury engaged visually, auditorily. Is that a word? Did I just make that up?
I'll allow it.
Yeah, all right, thank you. My podcast, I can make it worse if I want to. But keeping people engaged that way is huge too. And I think the more you lean into that storytelling aspect, the more you naturally want to have these different aspects as a part of your presentation too. And
when they talk about, demonstratives, there's one I think of as 2019. This was Eastern District up in Texarkana. Sidebar, my kids think it's so cool that like I could have my courtroom in Texas, but if I want to go to the bathroom, I have to walk down the hall to Arkansas because the courthouse is like on the border.
Right.
But with that, talk about giving them different ways to experience in demonstratives. It was going to be a demonstrative and it turned into actual exhibit. It was a patent case about this downhole oil well technology. And we actually held this like 80-pound thing and got to publish it to the jury so they could touch the specific feature we were looking at. And I don't know if we needed to. We're just like, yeah, that'd be cool. Let's do that. And so it is great to have different ways for them to experience it. And then demonstratives are key. I know they're crucial in your area for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the most creative ones I saw was a seat back case, and the plaintiff had passed away, and they alleged that she hit her head in the back seat because the seat broke. And during trial, the defense expert was talking about how he could tell, where she hit based on this indentation, even though he couldn't see it. And so they actually published the back seat to the jury and had the jurors able to run their hands down to see where you see where that indentation was. I think it was from something else. I don't think it was because the biomechanics didn't work out that way. But I thought that was really interesting. Like, oh, let them feel it. And then in closing, of course, he came back to like, hey, y'all felt it.
Yep.
Y'all felt what happened here.
When
We're
it's
not making
like,
this up.
I mean, these jurors, they're used to watching CSI and really cool stuff like that. And again, I'm thankful I'm not dealing with really heavy stuff like things that go on in criminal courtrooms, but they want to see it and be the investigator and figure it out. And yeah, what better way than letting them physically touch some of the evidence or what may or may not have been the evidence. But as far as trial strategy, it's interesting.
It's funny, you know, jurors, a lot of them, we'll talk about this during voir dire, they think we ought to have, you know, the whole thing recreated. Like we ought to be able to show them essentially like an animated video of exactly what happened. Like, okay, well, do you realize what it costs to do that? This case, you know, the value that we're asking you for is less than what it would cost to do an animation like that and hire all the people to go measure all the things. But you're right, the jurors' expectations have changed dramatically over the 20 years I've been doing this in terms of the type of evidence they expect to see. And I know I have friends that are prosecutors, and it's a really big deal for them because of those CSI type shows. They expect, oh, I want DNA evidence. I want, you know, all of these different things in every single case. Like, well, hold on. The DNA doesn't have anything to do with this case. This is shoplifting.
But
we have it on
DNA?
video.
But where's the DNA?
Right.
I want the fingerprints, the forensics, the analysis, everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So I think in the legal community, we're pretty slow to jump into new technology.
Where are we going
things
here?
like that. Let's talk AI for a minute.
Let's do it.
All right. So AI, I think, can be it's a game changer just in the world in general. It is akin to me like the development of the internet. It is massively going to change things. What are your thoughts on incorporating that into your practice? Are you doing it? If so, how are you doing it? Are you experimenting with it? Kind of give me your thoughts on AI in general and then what you're doing with your practice.
So we have I don't know if it's called a committee or task force at our firm that's looking into what we're going to do firm-wide.
That means he works at a bigger firm, ladies and gentlemen. Task force at my firm are like me, or maybe me and somebody else.
I would say I bet you're on a lot of task force and committees.
Yes.
Like all of them. But with that, in mind, you have to be very careful. Obviously, anything you put out there, and we've seen very publicly, even people from OpenAI saying, anything you put in here, it can get produced in a lawsuit.
Yeah.
There have been big issues where I know engineers have put trade secrets in ChatGPT that are out there for the world to see now. So there's limited things that are, you know, publicly available that you can use safely. What I do a lot is, and you've probably dealt with this too, where we have these crutch words we use over and over, and they can be great and endearing, but they can be annoying to a jury. And we also have ways that we phrase things, ways that we say things. So a lot of times, very anonymized versions, right? I'll use it to brainstorm things for opening statement, ideas, themes. And again, I'm capable of doing this by myself. I've already have it prepped. I'm going to see what other ideas can come out there that, again, thinking away differently than I naturally would. That's the big thing I've been doing lately with AI. And then also putting out content. I don't just let AI write things, but I'll spend hour and a half doing the most thorough outline for things I want to put in a paper, white paper, whatever. Not with legal citations, of course, because we know the danger in that.
Please don't do that.
Don't do it. Don't do it. We're going against a party that did that, and don't do it. It doesn't end up well.
Right now you are?
I'm not. My firm is. I can't talk about that specific case, but it's one of the ones that if you just Google for hallucinations and fake cases getting cited locally, you're going to see things like that.
Ouch.
And so with it, I found it's very helpful. It gave me a great first draft of my article that I'd expect from a first, second, third year associate. Again, I'm not done. I'm not just going to take that and it got a couple of things wrong. You got to fix it. You got to pay attention. But I think it's helpful to accelerate the process and just get things moving forward because we have limited time.
We do. And the more efficient we can become, that does nothing but benefit our clients. Right.
Yeah, you're not billing your clients for how much time it would have taken without AI, and you just plug it in there, right? I mean, it does accelerate things as long as you can do it safely and confidentially.
Right, and the confidential part is huge. Anything that will feed into it has been anonymized. There's no names, social security numbers, addresses, anything like that in there. But one of the things that I love is almost using it as like a focus group.
Mm-hmm.
So take a focus group presentation, which is already anonymized, and say, all right, what would this type of demographic think of this type of case? And then you change the demographic, and then you change this demographic. What's missing here? What big facts are missing here? What would, if you were a top-rated defense attorney in line with, these different defense attorneys, how would you attack this case? And it's a great like you said, brainstorming partner. And I think the things that it can do just from an operations aspect are massive, cutting down on busy work and things like that. There's a lot of them now that you can even start building out task flows in and having them do things that save just absolutely tons of time. So I'm always interested in every lawyer that I talk to, because we just did, I spoke at a DTLA event, Dallas Traveler Association event, and there were probably, 100 people in there. And I asked, there was lawyers, but mainly it was paralegals. It was a summer school for paralegals. And I asked them, I was like, how many of your firms, or how many of you are using AI in your firms, like in a sanctioned way? Like your firm wants you using AI and I had one hand go up.
Well, that's with it too. And then part of it's a generational thing. And I think we're all hesitant to jump on what all the kids are doing these days, right? I mean, it feels weird. And you think about all kinds of technologies through the past, just 100 years easily. And so with it, part of it's education and making sure they know how to safely do it and make it less scary, because we all need to adopt it to some extent, or we are going to get left behind to some extent. Like, we're still going to have jobs, we're still going to be able to do stuff, but we need to be able to, best advocate for and represent our clients. And that's part of it going forward. Let's just be smart about how we do it.
Yeah, I had someone say to me, like, hey, put something in AI and then take that and make it better. Well, that's your future job. Not starting from scratch and getting it to the end. And
learning how to give prompts as well is very important. But it's crazy. It's wild.
We have a book at the office that my head of operations is working her way through right now. It's on building really good AI prompts. And the better you can do that, the more information you can give it, and then the more it learns about you and what you do and all these different things. The future is going to be completely different, my friend.
It is, and I am glad that I'm not, going through engineering school right now and trying to get a job in the next few years. There are going to be ones, and it'll evolve and take different shapes and forms, but it's changing overnight, right?
Absolutely. All right, let's go back to the entertainment industry.
Let's do it.
All right. You have a big background there. What are some things about the entertainment industry that most people wouldn't think of? Good things, bad things.
Wouldn't think of. Let's be real. I've worked in it on the industry side and the entertainment side. A lot of times it's not as sexy as it seems when you're in there 24/7 or your full-time job. And it's a tough industry to get in any capacity, because at least in the production side, anything with live events, sports teams, things like that, a lot of those employers expect you to take a pay cut because there's so much demand, and these are the fun jobs, right? That's the biggest thing that didn't really shock me, but once you see it up close, like, yes, really, this is how it is.
Yeah, I've always wondered what it was like for those guys who do like the game of the week on ESPN. Right, you never really know week to week. Like, they have a plan, I think, of which games they're going to go to, but obviously how the season plays out determines where they're going to go.
So for football, I would fly back home on Sunday. They tell me most of the time Monday where I'm going to fly Wednesday morning and where I need to hire a crew within the next 48 hours for the local crew. And it all depends on who the big wigs and the strategists and statisticians think is going to be the most highest rated game the next week based on what just happened in the last 48 hours. It's crazy.
Wow. So I can see what you say by having a pretty tough home life. Hey, babe, I'm going to be gone on Wednesday through Sunday. Don't know where I'm going to be. And
it won't be here.
Yeah, it won't be here. But I'll let you know as soon as I know.
Well, again, I didn't have kids yet at that point. If I was passionate, that's the end all be all, we would have made it happen. But I could see where this is going to lead us in the near future.
Yeah. Do you have kids now?
I do. I got 3 kids.
Yeah. I can't imagine being gone Wednesday through Sunday. I have a bunch of friends who travel quite a bit. I just can't imagine doing that.
Yeah, and then your weekend is Monday, Tuesday when everyone's at school and work. It was bizarre.
Wow. So working on the entertainment side, any fun stories about actors, actresses?
I mean,
that you can tell.
Some we can talk about later. One, I will not name this person, but ESPN, one of the people that I'm not sure it's ESPN anymore, but you'll definitely see this person on a high profile football game every week. And he may or may not have tried to get me fired because the SUV I sent him wasn't fancy enough to pick him up from the hotel. And this is also during the Great Recession, where there were, for good reason, budget cuts and tightening the belt. And so, but it is nice when you see people that you would not be surprised to be divas, that are just amazing, normal people in person. It's great when that happens. I know I didn't think she'd be bad at all. I just know that she was extremely famous. Erin Andrews, so much fun to work with. So great, so unassuming. She didn't try to get me fired for not getting her the right beverage or type of car or anything. It was just, it's great and refreshing to see that. Again, kind of jaded, kind of quick.
I would imagine so. So would you say, out of all of the people that you worked, all the talent that you worked with, do the majority fall on the more laid back side or on the more diva-ish side?
Depends on what show you're on, right? If you're on a Wednesday night show in Miami, Ohio, that person's glad to be on camera,
right?
For the most part,
right.
If you're on the more high profile show, I think it's a little more likely to go the other direction.
Wow, and so that has to be something that develops over time, right? Because if you come in, you're not coming in at that level, which means you're probably not a diva or nobody would want to work with you. It's interesting to see how that happens over time.
It is interesting. It's a different world for sure than what you see over the airways.
Awesome. All right, so we have time for one last question.
Okay.
And I always ask everybody the same question.
Uh-oh.
Give me your top 3 books that you love, that you would recommend, that you gift.
Oh my goodness. So here's the problem. I'm always a little embarrassed about this. I don't read much for fun.
Okay.
Because I read entirely too much in my day-to-day. And so
when I get that response, I'm like, all right, favorite podcast, favorite way you learn.
I'm going back. So I've been audiobooks lately.
Beautiful.
I like to keep it light. So I just finished Nate Bargatze's audiobook, which was just a blast. And I don't turn my brain all the way off, but I'm not that focused on stuff like that.
Does he read the audiobook?
Yes.
Okay.
In straight deadpan fashion.
Because it's totally different unless he's the one reading it based on how he speaks.
And then one is not a particular book. I really enjoy autobiographies from musicians and just hearing about the crazy storylines they have.
I grew up in the 80s, which was like hair band central. And so I've read a couple of those books and it is crazier than you would even think.
I haven't read from that decade, and I am sure it is wild, to say the least. And frankly, I'm maybe I'm a fail here. I don't know. I don't have a third. I listen to just fun music all the time, and I try to keep it light because it's heavy enough. And then I always love listening to stand-up comedy as well, which I get that you asked me what my favorite book was, and I said I like to listen to stand-up comedy. That's not really an answer.
All good. All good. What music do you like?
All across the board. I mean, I grew up on hip hop and country. And
they go together.
Let's sprinkle some rock in there as well, and we're good to go.
Awesome. All right. Well, Brent, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it. And thank you to everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Driven Crowd Podcast. We'll see you next time.